welcome back to Inside the Ring, boxing's official show of record. I'm your host, Max Kellerman. That is the editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine, sitting in for Mike Coppinger, who's not the editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine. Sorry, Mike. Fischer. That is an influencer in and out of the ring, Ryan Garcia, and that is all-decade running back. Do you know how good you have to be all-decade running back? An all-decade boxing fan, Shady McCoy, and we're up in here chopping it up. The producers had to get in our ear. Stop it! Talking about the best fighters we've seen in person. We'll get to that another time. It's time for the lead hook. Conor Benn avenged his loss to Chris Eubank Jr. with, I don't know what else to call it. It's kind of a one-sided beatdown, guys. But it was of an apparently drained Eubank Jr. Conor Benn floored Eubank twice in the 12th round. Hey, is he going to be able to score the knockout? No. Eubank survived, but Benn won a landslide unanimous decision. I thought one judge had it a little close at 16-10, but okay, those things happen, guys. Your initial thoughts, I know, Ryan, I'll start with you. I know that when we say, hey, Chris Eubank Jr. looked drained by the weight, it's kind of taking credit away from Conor Benn. Yeah. It's not fair to him, but it's what I saw too. Eubank looked off, but a lot of that was Conor Benn, his aggression. What were your impressions?
I just seen that Eubank's reaction time wasn't the same. You know, everything came back was like a second off, move through a shot, and I'm like,
perfect assessment.
It's not. It's exactly, you know, he's not hitting his beats. You know what I mean? So for me, he just didn't look like his 100% self. But again, I don't want to take anything away from Conor. Congratulations, and yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next. I heard Conor Benn's going to 147.
I already called you out.
Yeah, he called. We're gonna get right. Let's not jump the gun. We got much more coming up, including Ryan's response to Conor Benn. Dougie, I totally agree with Ryan saying he looked, it's not just like a second slow, it's like...
Yeah, well, his reflexes were off.
His reflexes, he looked like a guy who got hurt in the, like came into the fight like hurt.
Yeah.
Like was
maybe his equilibrium wasn't totally there. His legs were like 90% as opposed to 100%. His reflexes were like 80% as opposed to 100%. He wasn't drained like Diego Corrales was drained going into the fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Or Jose Luis Castillo.
Yeah, or Jose Luis. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or Fernando Vargas in the rematch with Shane Mosley. He was completely drained, making 154 pounds. He went AWOL, skipped out of camp for like 2 weeks, put on like 30 pounds, and lost it all within a week or whatever. So his fight, his victory was just making that contracted weight of 154 pounds. Once the fight started, he had nothing. Shane really could have knocked him out in the first round. He didn't know
Vargas
though.
Now.
Yeah, Shane could have he did knock out Vargas in like the 5th or 6th round with a big left hook, but he could have done it in the first round. Fernando had nothing. That's not the story with Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank, it was a fight for him to make the contracted weight and not being able to rehydrate all the way, limiting the hydration. That hurt him, and he's 35. So when you get into your mid-30s,
it's hard
playing
the first
with your
time.
weight
It's not going to be easier
harder.
the second time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he was just off. My thinking, you got to give Conor Benn credit because he was so disciplined. He kept his emotions in check. Okay, and he stuck to boxing basics. He wasn't doing a lot of crazy stuff out there. He was in, he was out.
As
he was
a result,
working
the
off his
fight
jab.
wasn't as good as the first one, but it was more dominant from Dougie. I got to tell you a little story because you're not on the group text, right? Because that Copp's on the group text. Maybe we got to put Dougie on the group text. And I don't think you were on this group text.
I'm not even on there either.
Because you show up once in a while.
Listen,
I'll be there
But
soon.
all of a sudden, Shady, who did you have? Who did you have going into the fight before you changed your mind?
Listen, I had Conor Benn winning.
And what did you text us right before the fight started?
But I didn't know.
What changed your mind?
Yo, when I heard that 50 Cent came out, I was like, 50 Cent? Got the brother from Queens, New York? I thought it was going to be a better fight. Right?
So you saw him with Eubank and it changed your mind about the fight?
So I thought that I was betting on Conor. I had 10 grand to the side for Conor Benn. All right? But then when I seen 50 Cent bring him out on the walk, I said, oh, no. I don't know now. But
always go with your gut instinct.
Yeah,
always go with your first choice.
What was his goal? First instinct.
I didn't even want to bet against 50 Cent. It's my favorite rapper of all time. But it was a good win for Conor. I'll give him that. The first fight, you could see his emotions were really, really high, right? All these wild punches he was doing early in the fight. If you see the last one, he was more controlled, right? And Eubank, I mean, his legs was gone. He did look drained. I cannot lie. He did look drained.
I think by the 12th round, with Conor boxing the way he was boxing, staying disciplined, holding his form into the late rounds. Yeah, by the 12th round, Eubanks, he didn't have legs to stand on.
Right.
But here's what I say. If Conor had fought the way he fought in the first fight, this version of Eubank would have done much better.
Maybe I'll say this: we engage in a little bit of revisionist history because our perceptions change when we see the new things that happen. We perceive these new events, and it changes our perception. But let's go back in time. When the first fight was first announced, the idea is that it's kind of a catch weight, and the bigger man had the advantage. Eubank was a more accomplished fighter. He was the bigger man. He was supposed to win. Then an inconvenient thing happened, but it was convenient for the rest of us, which is a great fight that Ben did really well in. I still think there was a sense he overachieved, and now Eubank has to put that to bed and move on. That is not what happened. That is the first Ben win, as he said after the fight, in the Eubank-Ben rivalry, which is now spans 2 generations and 4 fights and a lot of great rounds. After this fight, Conor Benn was explicit about who all he wants next. Check this out.
Got my boy out.
Back down to 147. What's next for Conor Benn? I fancy Barrios for the WBC world title. Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, all of them Yanks can get it any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
I can't take his trash talk.
Hey, what's
serious.
a yank?
It's the accent. It just doesn't. It doesn't
a
move.
yank,
It
though?
doesn't
He
move me.
fancies you.
Exactly. He
Right, what's
fancies
a yank?
Because
you was the
you
person
couldn't
we
pay
called
me.
out.
I don't know what a yank is.
You're
Maybe
American.
a youngster. It might be a
You're
youngster.
very fancy.
You're a Yankee.
Oh, that's cool. Anyways, yeah, I would love to fight that guy. You know, Conor, he's been not been on my radar, but now that he's coming back down to 147, let's run it.
All right,
but I may have a fight come up, so might have to wait.
Game recognized game though.
Yeah.
When you see him, you were perceived at a certain level.
Yeah.
And he was perceived at a certain level, which was not your level.
Right.
When you see him look the way he did against Eubank, do you think, this guy got his level. He leveled up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everybody improves. The more their career goes, hopefully, right? But yeah, for his that performance, I got to give him it. He did his thing for sure. Boxers don't like to give credit to other boxers, but respect.
What did you like that he did?
I just liked, he came in on point with, staying in shape. His conditioning followed all the way through, like Dougie was saying, and he took advantage of what was in front of him. You still gotta, you still have to go through with your game plan. The guy might be a little weak, but you still gotta put the work in. So he did that, and that was impressive. But
when you watch it though, right? What will you
I
be
think he
different?
cannot beat me.
No, I'm saying, but what's the difference between you
and Eubank? If that's
and
what you're asking me.
No, I'm just saying. Obviously, you think you're gonna win.
Yeah,
of course, but what's the difference between you and Eubank? What's the difference?
I'm just fresher,
Okay.
faster, and younger,
puncher.
and ready.
Okay.
You guys had words.
And I think I have better defense. I think I have a little bit better.
Who
defense.
walking you out?
Not 50 Cent. I'm just kidding. No, I would love to have 50. Why not?
Ryan, you guys had words at the Ring Magazine Awards in
yes.
London
Yes.
in January. What was that all about? I didn't witness it.
I had
heard
no
about it.
idea.
I saw a commotion. I thought you were fighting.
I was chilling, and then he just
Right.
come up to me and started pressing me. I was like, oh, okay.
What did he say?
I don't know. He was saying that left hook's not going to hit me.
Conor
I said,
had a
I
chip on
guarantee
his
it will.
shoulder all last
Yeah,
year.
he had
Yeah.
a crate. I was like, bro, relax. I'm just here for the award show. But if you want to get down right now, we can. It was crazy because I wasn't even talking. I was just walking, enjoying my time, and then I was just like getting pressed.
So you didn't say anything disrespectful to him?
No.
Okay.
Until he came at me and he's like, this is my city. You're in my city. I'm like, I don't give
This
a
is what I want to know. Sometimes fighters, a guy like Ben comes off a win like that, and he now makes himself viable for a big fight, right? It means a bigger purse to whoever he's fighting, and so he becomes more attractive. But sometimes you'll look at him and go, and I got to be ready for that dude. And other times you look at him and go, ooh, easy money. When you look at Conor Benn, is it the kind of thing where all these fighters he's calling out, the really good ones are going to think, oh, and now this guy is a big payday? Easy money, or are they thinking, no, he leveled up to our level, no, that's a serious fight? Which one is it?
I think it's a bit of both, depending on who you ask. Which guy feels more comfortable with a guy that fights like that. For me, I'm in between. Easy money, but it's not going to be easy where it's like, all right, I don't got to get up at all. Like, this guy is hungry, he's aggressive in the ring, and he's not going to stop fighting. He takes a lot of good shots, as we've seen. So for me, it's like I'm a little bit of both.
Sounds like you respect what you saw.
Exactly. I respect what I saw, but I'll be prepared.
And it's pretty confident, though. I always talk about body language in any sport. Body language tells you a lot about the fighter. If you look at the difference between the body language between Eubank and Conor, Conor looks super confident, like, I'm going to win this fight.
Yep.
Where Eubank was more like, all right, I'm trying to figure him out. Let me just try to maintain and stay in the fight.
Not that he won a title, Dougie, but back in the old days, people used to say a title makes a guy 50% better.
Right.
Right? Because he's all eyes of the world are on him. He feels like he's accomplished something. He has more belief in himself.
Yeah.
By the way, he's making more money. He can quit his day job. He gets, et cetera,
and this is
et
a
cetera.
huge rivalry in England and all of UK. It was a stadium fight twice. It's 12 rounds. He's got to feel good about himself.
And I always refer to Larry Merchant's quote, which I love in these kind of situations, when he talked about Ali Frazier. I've said it on this show several times. They were fighting for the championship of each other, right? That's the championship that Conor just won, the Ben Eubank championship, right? So do you think this makes him a better fighter now?
It definitely elevates his confidence. But what I saw before the fight, during the 12 rounds, and definitely afterwards during his post-fight interviews, is a more mature Conor Benn. Like I said, he had the controversy with the performance-enhancing drug stuff and being banned in the UK, and he fought that tooth and nail the whole way. And for a couple of years, he couldn't fight in England. He's fighting in the United States in front of small crowds, and he's not really giving his best. That's when he's looking like not world class, right? Kind of like a mid-level dude. And I think he's just put it behind him. I think there was a lot of emotions that he began 2025 with. He sort of got that out of his system in that first fight.
Kind of new phase of his career.
Because he just let it all hang out in the first fight. In the second fight, he was more himself, because when he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder, he's a super cool guy. Yeah. It's a great interview. He gets on well with the media, with the fans, generally with fellow boxers. So I think his maturity is now at a level that is professional, world class.
Which will help him.
Dougie, can we keep it real, though? Because all things you said was right, and I believe everything you're saying. But they are split 1-1 fights, and Eubank won his best on this fight. And I know,
let's see them without a rehydration clause.
I'm just saying, like we praise Conor, and I like Conor from the interviews, and he should have a good fight. But I gotta keep it 100 though. We're not gonna praise you super crazy when you fought a fighter you already lost to, and he went at his best. That did happen, correct?
All right, so let's talk about rehydration clauses, because Saturday's fight has brought to mind another question. Rehydration clauses, should they even exist? I mean, I suppose you can negotiate anything. But back in the day, weigh-ins were day of fight. Okay. So fighters fought within 10 or 12 pounds of their weight. They walked around closer to their fighting weight because they knew they still dried out, they still dehydrated to make weight, but they knew, I can only dehydrate so much. And by the way, my memory is, Doug, very seldom did anyone miss weight. I don't remember fighters missing weight back in the day. Then because the science said, hey, if you dry out too much and then rehydrate, worse outcomes can happen health-wise in the ring, they moved the weigh into the day before. As a result, though, the no good deed goes unpunished. As a result, fighters were like, oh, I got a whole extra day to make weight. Now they do it in the morning, by the way, 36 hours. I'm going to walk around 25 pounds over the weight, and they're missing.
Guys wanting to game the system.
Yeah, they want to game the system.
Unnaturally lightweight because they can get away with it.
So should there be rehydration clauses?
I don't think there should. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, you're putting the fighters in danger. If you guys don't like this fight, then don't make it. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense to do it.
Right.
But the idea of the
I don't think it should exist. I mean, yes, it could get negotiated. I just don't think it should exist.
The idea of the rehydration clause is, theoretically, you would like to have guys fighting each other who are the same size if they're in the same weight division, if they're not heavyweights. And so the idea is trying to counteract gaming the system. Oh, I got all this time to rehydrate, so I'm going to be the bigger man in the fight, as opposed to being the same weight, really. So how do you address that if you don't have a rehydration clause?
I mean, how do you do that? That's a tricky one for me, but at the end of the day, if a guy wants to fight, the most I would do is a catch weight. That's it.
But the problem you have with these
You've had dehydration clause.
I've had that, and
twice.
It did not feel good.
In your two biggest fights.
One fight.
Just against Tank.
Just against, not with Devin.
Not with Devin, no.
So just Tank. Okay,
just Tank, yeah.
And how did that feel to not be?
I ain't gonna lie, that was probably the worst I've ever felt in my life. It just, it's hard to do anything dehydrated. What I tell people is like, try to play ping pong dehydrated.
Let alone fight Tank Davis.
And then you gotta fight Tank Davis in front of, thousands of people. It was tough, but I agreed to it, right? That's all that matters.
Yeah. You have to take responsibility.
Exactly.
But you want the money, though.
But like I said,
he could make money with a lot of guys. He did it. I remember this happening. You correct me if I'm wrong. He did it because that was the only way to make a big fight.
Yes.
He was being criticized for not fighting big enough fighters. He's like, okay, that's the biggest name. I'll fight that guy. They are naturally more or less the same size at the time. Maybe he had a slight size advantage.
I was small back then.
And is that the only way to get that fight, to put the rehydration clause?
That was the only way. Yeah, the fight wouldn't have happened if I didn't accept that. But I said, let's do it. Let's run it.
I once asked Marvin Hagler.
It's not like I'm that much bigger than him either.
I once asked Marvin Hagler, Shady, why did you agree to 12 rounds against Sugar Ray Leonard instead of 15? 15, he probably wins the fight. He said, it's the only way I get the fight. If one guy is going to make a lot of stipulations and will not fight without making those stipulations, what do you do?
But I'm okay with that, though. You talking about the 12 to 15 rounds? But when you talk about the weight and hydration, so in any sport, right, the number one thing they tell you to do is stay hydrated. Even when you were a freaking little kid. So now you want me to fight on a professional level with one of the other great elite fighter, and now I can't be hydrated? You know how hard that is? I challenge anybody out there, right? It's not even a pro athlete. Go out there and say, you know what? I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to lose 25 pounds. And don't eat at all for like 2-3 days type thing. And you can't really hydrate. And then you go train. You're going to kill yourself.
But I will say
and
that.
You want me to perform at a high level?
Let me play devil's advocate, okay? I'll play devil's advocate. If you're making a fight with two fighters who really aren't the same size, right? Like Eubank and Benn. Benn can be saying, listen, I'm giving up natural size. This dude's skeleton is bigger than mine, right? Like he's a bigger person than I am. So I will fight him in his weight class, but I want to make sure he's actually fighting in the weight class. I don't want on fight night for him to be in a higher weight class. I'm coming in junior middle, he's coming in at super middle. Not fair. Like, I'll play devil's advocate and say that. Like, how would you answer?
I think that's fair, but I also think if you're that fighter going up in weight, and you put that stipulation on your opponent, your naturally bigger opponent, you can't get upset when the public or the media or even your peers, fellow fighters, don't give you 100% credit.
Right.
I think that's
a good
fair.
point. Like
people don't give Canelo 100% credit
that,
beating Sergey Kovalev because he had a rehydration clause. Was there a rehydration clause when Mayweather fought Canelo, or was it just a catch weight?
Yes.
There was a rehydration clause?
There was a rehydration clause, I believe. We can fact check that. Ortega, fact check that. There was a rehydration clause, and it was a catch weight. It was 152 pounds.
So that's two stipulations right there. Right. So it's hard to give Mayweather 100% credit, even though he boxed brilliantly in that fight.
I just don't consider him having won the title because it's a catch weight fight.
Right.
It's not a junior middleweight, by definition, is a 154-pound limit.
Right.
Excuse me. Correction, I stand corrected. There was not a rehydration clause. Mayweather requested one, didn't get it. So he beat Canelo fair and square at 152.5
Let's give him 95% credit on that one.
He gets 100%
but definitely
credit, just not as a junior
fighters who, I mean, I thought it was a boss move when Canelo went up to light heavyweight for the first time.
Right.
And I gave him credit for it, but a lot of people, in part because Canelo was the face of boxing and all, and the most popular guy making all the money, everybody wants to hate on him. But the thing is Team Canelo can't complain about not getting 100%
I like it,
credit
Doug.
for that.
I like it. Something Coppinger would have never brought up. Never would have brought up. But anyway, I like it. Guys, do we agree on this? I started out the segment by saying that I felt bad about kind of bringing up the rehydration clause because it takes credit away from Conor Benn. Doug's point is, have the rehydration clause, but now you can't complain if people like us say, yeah, but there was a rehydration clause. Yeah. I'm with that. I think that makes sense.
But look, they're choosing to move up, right? Nobody asked them to move up. They chose to move up. That's not like you can't get to that weight class that you chose to move up to and then say, hey, but you cannot. There's a rehydration clause. That doesn't make sense to me. It's like you chose to move up, so you got to fight the guy.
But why?
Hey, that's why Crawford gets full credit for beating Canelo. He didn't make him do that.
But that's why.
That's the thing.
Come on,
but we look at Crawford different though.
No excuses.
You get what I'm saying? Like Tank. It's not like you say bad about Tank. But one thing we all keep noticing with Tank that's obvious is like, yo, you never fight people at their weight class.
For those watching on YouTube, our informant Mike Coppinger, who never would have brought up a point as good as Dougie just brought up, was at the fight and caught up with Conor Benn. That's next on Inside the Ring.
Live only on DAZN, November 22nd, The Ring 4. 4 world title fights in 4 different divisions. David Benavidez, the undefeated Mexican monster, defends against London's own Anthony Yarde. Devin Haney moves up to challenge Brian Norman Jr. Bam Rodriguez looks to unify against Fernando Martinez. It's the night of the champions. The Ring 4, November 22nd. Watch only on DAZN.
Conor happens next in this fabled rivalry? This is what big-time boxing's about. And Eubank, very fire with fire. He's normally found a way, Junior. Is there a glimmer? Can Conor Benn just put the finishing touches on what's been absolutely superb tonight? A stunning performance of brilliant boxing. The Benns are victorious at last after 35 years of hurt. Conor Benn, take a bow, son.
It is Inside the Ring. I'm Max. That's Ryan. That's Doug. And that is Shady. And our informant, Mike Coppinger, is in the United Kingdom and was in attendance for Ben Eubank. And after the fight, he caught up with the winner, Conor Benn.
This is Mike Coppinger. We are here with Conor Benn, the man of the hour. Incredible performance just a few minutes ago here in London at Tottenham Stadium. Massive crowd, 60,000 plus. And you punctuated that dominant performance with 2 knockdowns in the closing minute of the fight. Wide points. I gave Eubank maybe 1 round. And again, you lost to Eubank in April. This time you score revenge and leave no doubt whatsoever. Is this the happiest moment of your boxing career?
I mean, you could have kept the loss out of this. That would have been a bit better. But, you know, it does make it that bit sweeter. And for me, this, back then, I would have said meant more to me than a world title. It's up there. It's up there for me. Jumping up 2 weights to beat a bigger, more experienced guy. For me, with a family feud, completed it, mate.
Yeah, to me, this rivalry is finished now. This chapter's closed, right? We don't need to see a 3rd fight. I think you move on to bigger and better things. Like you said, 147 pounds, chasing a title. What's next?
Well, listen, I've got to sit down with my manager, Keith, Conor Lee, sit down with Lee, Matchroom, and see what we can put together, see what we can cook. You have Ryan Garcia back down to 147. You have Devin Haney. You have Mario Barrios. He's the front runner for me to get a WBC world title and then defend it. That for me will be, that's what I'm hoping my 2026 looks like.
Look, you were on Inside the Ring a couple of weeks ago. You made no secrets about your feelings toward Chris Eubank. You said, this is personal. I want to knock this guy out. Now that it's all said and done, did you guys talk in the ring afterward? Is it over?
Listen, it ain't my cup of tea. And that's completely fine.
Sure.
I like you, but I don't have to like you, but I do like you.
Thank you.
But there's some people you just don't get on with. I think he's just one of them people. But ultimately, I take my hat off to him. I respect him. I respect his dad. This wouldn't have been what it was without us, without our dads, the seniors, my dad. So, you know, credit to Chris for making this fight happen. The big fights don't happen in boxing. They never happen.
Right.
You know, and I've had to show a pair of bollocks in jumping up 2 weight divisions to make this fight happen. I'm glad I could give it to the British public. I felt like I owed it to the British public, and I've closed this chapter now. I feel like I can move on. I feel like the baggage is gone and I could just move on with my career and pursuing world titles.
Well, you know what, Conor? I like you too, so thank you for that. And yes, look, I mean, you fight in April. Look, you lost in that fight, but it was one of those fights where I felt like there was no loser because it was, I think, the front runner right now for Fight of the Year. We're in November.
But I lost. I did lose.
You may have lost, but you raised your stock in how good the fight was. This time around, the fight wasn't a thriller, but you left no doubt whatsoever. 119, 107 on one of the scorecards, and I just thought that was so great for you to score those 2 knockdowns. If you had a few more seconds, do you think you could have stopped him?
You tell me.
I thought so.
I thought the ref could have stopped it as is. He weren't throwing back. The ref should have stopped it. Could have stopped it. But ultimately, I've just gone 12 rounds, 2 times with a 160 fighter. And it's time for me now to drop back down to welterweight and pursue my dreams in winning a world title. I feel like I've done everything I've had to do up at 160. But ultimately, for me, listen, hold on a minute, let's forget what I want. What do the public want? You guys tell me what you want. I've jumped up 2 weights to give you guys this fight. What do you want? If you want the Garcias, if you want the Haneys, the Barrios, whoever you want, bring them to me and I'll have them.
I also wouldn't mind seeing Conor Benn against Rolly Romero. Rolly has a title right now.
Rolly can have it next.
He's a great trash talker too, like you.
I wouldn't even say I'm a trash talker. I ain't got nothing against Rolly. I think he's a funny guy.
He is.
Eubank, I didn't like him, so there was no trash talk. I meant every word I said. As for Rolly, there ain't going to be no trash talk. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's a character. I think he's good for boxing. But if he wants it, I'll happily give it to him.
Well, look, we have Devin Haney versus Brian Norman 1 week from today in Riyadh. That's a big fight, title fight. And you and Devin Haney have talked a lot of trash, we'll say trash this time, on Twitter over the years. That would be a big one if he wins.
I personally don't like Devin Haney. He goes about things in a manner that I think are just not the way a fighter should carry on. You got beat, accept defeat, move on, or have the rematch. Don't be going crying to the lawyers. That for me is just a big no-go. You own it. That's it. Don't make up excuses. So for me, if he wants it, he can get it next as well. He's got pillow fists. I'm not concerned about Haney at all. I'm not concerned about Garcia. I'm not concerned about Rolly. I've just mixed it up with a big middleweight. You can see I'm naturally the smaller guy. I'll happily fight anyone at 147.
Yeah, and I was so impressed because I thought you had a much more disciplined approach, patient approach, jabbing to the body, right hands over the top. It was a more mature Conor Benn in there. What did you learn from the first fight that you carried into the second fight?
Just learned to take my time. I ain't got to be so angry all the time. I ain't got to be so angry.
You're not an angry guy anyway.
Are you sure?
I don't think you are.
To you, I'm not.
Okay. Maybe to Chris Eubank you are.
Maybe to Eubank I am.
Yeah.
But I feel like for me, there's no point being angry.
Sure.
I feel like it's just, I was an angry person with everything that had gone on. I was still healing from trauma. You know, they say a strong mind can carry a weak body, but a strong body can't carry a weak mind. And for me, that was how I felt. I was broken, I was still healing, and I just wanted to go in there and do some damage, and I did. I done what I said I was going to do, was go in there and do some damage first time round. Whereas now I said, you know what, I'm going to go in there and give a more calculated performance, stay disciplined. He tried dragging me into a fight a few times. I could have let my hands go a little bit more. I could have pushed the work rate a little bit more, but I wanted to be more selective with my shots, take my time, pick my shots, and I knew he couldn't live with my speed, my reaction, and my boxing ability that people give me no credit for.
Yeah, no, I'm giving you the credit now, and I remember there was a moment in round one, you landed a big right hand, and then you got reckless for just a second.
I did. But I noticed straight away, I thought, oh God, don't, stop.
You stopped yourself, yeah.
I had to sort of tell the other part of my brain, calm down, just take your time.
So did it bother you then? I mean, obviously the loss bothered you greatly, but did it bother you when people were saying you didn't have boxing skills?
Listen, ultimately I just want to go in there and prove people wrong. So I got a chip on my shoulder about it. Ultimately it's like, you lot keep doubting me. Keep doubting me.
Yeah, Mike.
Why do you keep doubting me?
I picked Conor Benn on the show, on the record.
Oh, stop it. I sat down with you tonight and I said who's going to win. You made
Don't listen to Eddie. I'm on the record. I have receipts. But Eddie always has jokes, and Eddie has a big one too, so I'm sure you did it for him over Ben Shalom.
Yeah.
So we have 50 Cent, the rapper, walking Chris Eubank to the ring. And people were saying, oh wow, he really means business now. Did that make it a little...
He was, he come out, he was mean mugging, giving it the eyes. I'm not scared. He's coming out giving it all, looking at me like he's double hard. I ain't scared, mate. You just look like an idiot in a fur jacket. So don't, I'm not intimidated. I don't get intimidated like that, at all. 50's in your corner, and what? He ain't fighting for you. What's he gonna do? We're in London.
But it was cold out there. He was wearing the fur, it was freezing. I was wearing a parka at ringside. Did it take you a bit to warm up?
That was good. I'm in a fight. I'm not gonna, me and you were to start, not you again, if we start fighting right now, I'm not gonna go, oh, I'm a bit cold, sure. 1 minute, let me warm up. I'm gonna go in there and treat the fight as a fight, what it is. You know, I don't look at any other man out there. If there was fights at 168 that could happen, no problem. I fight at 168. I don't look at another man and go, oh, he's scary. I'm a fighter.
I mean, look, it's impressive that you carry the power so well. Could we see you fighting at 154 again soon?
Listen, I'll go to 168 if it's right. Do you know what I mean? So as long as it's right, as long as it makes sense, I'll fight anybody. I'm a fighter. I'm a modern day gladiator. I do not care about another man with 2 arms and 2 legs. If it makes sense, it can happen. If the public want it, it can happen.
All right, lastly, what's your message to Chris Eubank now and the boxing world after this great victory?
There's a big shout out to the boxing supporters, the people who support me through and through. Big shout out to the doubters. Big shout out to the naysayers. I love every single one of you because I won't be who I am today without all of you. So thank you.
All right, there you have it from Conor Benn, the man of the hour. Big win over Chris Eubank tonight, and a lot of big fights in his future.
Mike Coppinger, fashion icon, pioneering the collar inside outside look. Amazing. Guys, you heard Conor. He's not crazy about Eubank, but he's charismatic. He's coming off a big win. He has some star quality, Ryan.
Yeah, 100%. When you win a big fight like that, you're on top of the world. So, in that interview, I seen he was pretty happy, But
he's in the mix for you and others, right? Like he's a guy you're now going to consider.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he said he was going back down to 147, so
you do that fight over there in front of 50,000?
I would actually consider going to the UK for that. Yeah, I've always wanted to fight in the UK, so I'm down to go across the pound.
Yeah, but he can draw a crowd here, and Conor can draw a crowd there.
You little yank.
Yeah, you're a yank.
Hey, again, I have no idea what that is. So I cannot
better to be called
you call me yank a million times. I won't care.
That's a good fight, though, right?
Yeah, of course.
I think Ryan wins that fight.
I know I win that fight. I know I win that fight.
One thing I'll tell you, Conor's going to come into that fight ready for you. He'll be in the best shape of his life, et cetera, et cetera. Are you going to be in the best shape of your life for him?
Yeah, of course. Come on, man.
You sure?
Hey, I got another fight coming up, though, but yeah.
Yeah.
I will definitely.
You're going to be in the best fight of your life for that guy, too?
That for sure, 100%.
For Barrios?
Yes, for Barrios.
We're going to get into Barrios.
All right, we got to get into it.
We're going to get into Barrios.
I can't wait, man.
Coming up, though, Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul.
It's official. Oh, it's real.
No. We get into it inside the ring. Coming right up.
Okay, Jake.
He can win and wants the fight. If that is the case, he's absolutely crazy, but we will very likely oblige for the money involved, evaporate him from the boxing world, and then go on to our real stuff with Turkey Al Sheikh that we've already got planned for 2026.
Right hand, perfectly placed. There is a new king of violence, and his name is Jake Paul.
I love combat. I love going to war. This is what I was destined for.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. Max, Ryan, Doug, Shady. As our very own Mike Coppinger reported, who is not here. Doug, you're doing a great job.
Great job.
Amazing job.
You got to tell them more people, though. All right.
But Mike Coppinger reported that Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul have indeed agreed to fight in December.
What?
Which, I didn't major in math, but it seems to me, how many months away is December?
A month and change.
Real close.
And change, yeah.
Well, Max, you don't believe that, Max.
I think, listen.
It's not going to happen.
I would say it's 50-50 whether this fight comes off, only because, first of all, let me take my hat off to Jake Paul.
I respect it.
Yeah. It is such an outrageous thing for him to attempt. And I know he's saying, hey, he's a champion in his prime. Anthony Joshua's not a champion anymore, and he's clearly no longer in his prime. However, he is an Olympic gold medalist. He's 36-year-old, which nowadays is not ancient. He knocked out, another guy who kind of was trying boxing out, Francis Ngannou, who's a big, strong guy who, by the way, dropped Tyson Fury and lost a close 10-round decision. He destroyed Ngannou, destroyed him. So for Jake Paul to even attempt this, Jake, my hat is off to you.
100%.
But it is, Joshua opens as a 15-1 favorite, and I think it should be more like 150-1.
Right, 100%.
As the fight approaches, it is hard for me to imagine that Jake goes through with it. Listen, I would consider it a victory for Jake. It looks good if he finishes the fight on his feet. And by that, I don't mean he goes the distance. If when the fight is stopped, Jake is still standing, whether that means he stopped Joshua or he got stopped but he's not flat on his back, that's a win for Jake Paul.
I think if he has one moment in the fight, it's a win for Jake Paul.
It's nothing against
Jake. If it's a one-round fight, but he lands one good right hand and maybe stuns Joshua for just a split second, that's a win.
Would you agree, Doug? That's nothing against Jake, who I think has a lot of guts to be just a guy who used to play college football, to walk in off the street and build himself into a credible 8-round cruiserweight who's a puncher, who's a legit puncher. Or college? Did he play college? Did Jake?
I don't think he did. No.
High school. Did I say college?
I think he was a high school.
High school. I meant high school if I said college. But at any rate,
he probably played football.
But he's athletic.
Yes.
But he turned himself into a credible 8-round, hard-punching cruiserweight. But for that guy to, if he could somehow even make it competitive against a former heavyweight champion and gold medalist.
If they go
I don't think he can.
If they go through with this fight, I give a lot of respect for Jake Paul.
Same
because we criticize him all the time, and I do too. You fight guys from UFC, you fight ex-basketball players, Chavez. I guess is he boxer or mob guy, whatever you want to say. All I'm saying is, if Jake Paul fights Anthony Joshua, that's a lot of respect. And Anthony Joshua, okay, if you don't put him through the ropes, I got a question mark about you because I already think his resume is kind of regular. Right, but regular, because I don't get mad at me. But anyway, if you have a hard time with Jake Paul, I want Max Kellerman to say Shane McCoy, you was right.
Floyd Patterson defended the heavyweight title against the heavyweight Olympic gold medalist, and got dropped. That gold medalist,
Pete Rademacher.
Pete Rademacher was making his professional debut. Yep. He had never fought pro. Turns pro, has a fight against Patterson because Customato was protecting Floyd Patterson. This is what Rocky III is based on, Floyd Patterson, basically. Yeah. He was protecting Patterson. He puts him in with a guy making his pro debut. Patterson got dropped.
Yep.
If Jake's not an Olympic gold medalist, but what would you consider a victory for Jake Paul? What's the standard that we're going to be judging him by here?
If he could win 1 or 2 rounds, to me, that's a W. You know what I mean? So this fight is probably the worst fight that Jake Paul could have taken. Out of all the fights he probably had a choice, myself, who else did they say? I forgot. The other guy, you know what I mean? That's worse. This is a big dude, heavyweight. Like, how you go from 135 to 225? It's going to be difficult. But
why do you think he takes it, Ryan? And I ask you because you are at an interesting intersection between, you were the first boxer to really exploit social media. Right. You're a legitimate social media star. You have like 10 million plus social media followers now. And yet you're also a real fighter. So you have a foot in both worlds. Maybe you can relate to Jake Paul better than most, even though you have obviously a much, much, much deeper boxing background. Why do you think he takes Joshua?
I think he's just addicted to doing huge fights. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, he has so many options. He's always looking for the guy that can make the most noise. All his picks that he's fought in the pros has been guys that have some name, whether they're UFC fighters, NBA players. You want Gervonta Davis. He's small, so I know I could beat him. He's probably thinking Anthony Joshua. He gets, maybe his chin is suspect. Maybe he's not even thinking about me. So I'm gonna come in and somehow hit him with my right hand because he believes that his right hand is as strong as Wilder. The way he talks, like my right hand is like this. So I think he's seen Dubai, I can't say his name.
Dubois.
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking.
Drop his with the right hand. Oh, I could do that. Like, that's my shot. You know what I mean?
What about respect, though? I think Jake Paul's at a point where he wants respect. Because I do think he's better than what people think he is, right? Now the stage is set. If he goes out there and battles with Anthony Joshua, we got to give Jake Paul 100%. Way more respect than we do now.
You know what
that's the victory. Just taking the fight. If he actually steps into the ring with Anthony Joshua,
that's a victory.
That's big. For his own credibility, for his own reputation. It's like, even if he gets blasted
for
out.
Himself.
Yeah, for himself. People will say, listen, he got in there with him. He dared to be great.
You know what Muhammad Ali said? Doug, you probably know this. When he was still Cassius Clay, and they didn't want to give him the title shot against Sonny Liston because they started hearing he was messing with the Nation of Islam, and he was actually Cassius X at the time, but no one knew it. He talked about the fact that, if I have to go back to the back of the line and go through Eddie Machin and Doug Jones and all these good fighters, it'll be just my luck to catch a guy on a night he decides to be great, right? Mm-hmm. And I imagine, Ryan, I want to come back to you about this because it's a very different situation in certain ways, but in this way, it's similar. You were at a point, Ryan Garcia can make money, he's a social media star, he doesn't have to fight anyone real, blah, blah, blah. And I imagine that you look at Tank Davis and you go, man, I could fight all these kind of tough fighters people don't know about, and maybe I run into him on a night he decides to be great. That's a risk too. Or I could fight the baddest dude that'll get in the ring with me and make a big fight and do it that way. Is there anything to that?
I mean, that's a great point. You got to think about it. You got to run against these guys you ain't going to make a lot of money with. And everybody got to fight. In the top 15, they all can fight. And like you said, some nights guys are just on their A game. You know what I mean? So that does play into, I guess, a boxer's mind for sure. Like, why wouldn't you want to get the guy that everybody thinks is the best and fight him and beat him, or even have a good fight? And that's more credit than you would if you fought a guy that nobody knows, but he's good, and then you beat him, and then what?
Do you think it'll be like some weight clause, a hydration clause with?
Do you want to get into the stipulations of the fight? You want to get into the stipulations of the fight?
Something's got to be up.
Information.
Let's see it. Something's got to be
up. The stipulations of the fight, ladies and gentlemen. 8-round professional fight. 3-minute rounds, 10-ounce gloves. Anthony Joshua does have a weight limit. 245 pounds, but that's right in his weight range.
That's what he normally weighs in.
That's what he normally weighs. Jake. The second Usyk fight was the last time he weighed 245 pounds, but that was relatively recently. Yeah. I mean, that's completely reasonable. Jake is a heavyweight at this point, but not a big heavyweight. He's not extremely tall. He's not, what's he been fighting? In 220?
195.
Yeah. He was a cruiserweight not long ago. So there's no way to shut people like us up. We will always find, and by that I mean the media, because you're looking at it from all angles. My first reaction is, man, Jake must be hearing something out of Joshua's camp. Maybe he looked bad in sparring. Maybe he got dropped. There's some reason he's taking this risk, because Jake is smart. He's too smart to take this big a risk if he doesn't know something. But I don't know that.
But he's also a promoter. He wants to put on the biggest event.
But more than that, Doug, you have to give it to Jake Paul to take this kind of risk. I don't care what anyone's saying about Anthony Joshua right now. He is still only 36 today, not that old. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He has won legitimately great heavyweight title fights, like against Vitaly Klitschko.
Yep.
He won the rematch with Andy Ruiz. He was, by the way, Usyk made his bones at heavyweight by beating Anthony Joshua in competitive fights. Those were competitive fights.
Joshua, he was competitive with Usyk. Yeah. And he probably has more fights against legit top 10 heavyweights than any other active heavyweight out there.
Right. At the time he fought those guys.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, all those guys. Joseph Parker and
Chisora.
Yeah, the Russian guy.
But
spacing out on his name.
Pavetkin.
That's what I was.
Who, by the way, was an Olympic gold medalist.
And a dangerous guy.
Yeah. So this story is more about, I think, Jake Paul than AJ. Because Jake Paul to take this step, right? If you look at all the guys he's fought, right? Okay, he's not fighting AJ. Oh, wait, he is fighting AJ? And now we talk about it? Right. So this thing is more about Jake taking that step. Because now, what can we say about Jake Paul now?
Well, you don't think he's going to get in the ring with him.
No, I'm like...
I'm not sure. I'm 50-50.
No. Remember, like, Jason, right? Like, I got to make sure he's dead first. Let me see he's dead before we think he's coming back, right? You kill him? You know what? I got to wait to see it. I got to wait to see the Sonic contract and they get in that ring. Because if not, I can't believe it. Because if Jake Paul's making that...
It is signed, right?
Ryan,
but you still got to get there, Ryan. You still got to get there.
There are ways you can get out of it still, right? Who do you think has more pressure in this fight? When I look at it, I see there's huge upside for Jake.
Huge upside.
There's almost no upside for AJ. There is some risk for Jake. He's supposed to lose, but if he gets stretched, like he get hurt, right? Like Ngannou, it's bad for his business. There is huge risk for AJ. Yeah. Who is there more pressure on in this fight?
It got to be AJ. I mean, at the end of the day, AJ just got to get the job done. You said there's no upside. The public's going to love him.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
Love who?
AJ, if he flatlines Jake Paul.
In the first round?
Yeah, exactly. Yo, they will
Don't say flatlines.
It's great.
Don't say flatlines.
Not flat.
Yeah.
It's great PR for AJ and America.
Yeah, 100%.
He's only fought once in America, and that was a disaster. That was 2019 against Andy Ruiz.
Right.
He hasn't been back since.
Right.
He should have.
Hopefully it's not a bad omen. He comes back and loses again. That would suck.
Well, I mean,
and so reputationally, I stand corrected. I think you both make very good points. Reputationally, particularly in the United States, for the people who hate on Jake Paul.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who hate on him.
They're
who want to see him lose, right? Dana White mentioned that recently. For those people, AJ will be a kind of a hero.
He'll be the savior.
I like...
And the purists, too.
I like MMA, and I've always been a fan of the UFC, and I always liked Francis Ngannou also. Mm-hmm. But I felt, as a boxing fan, like I was nervous, like what if Ngannou, who made boxing look bad with what he did to Tyson Fury,
right?
What if Ngannou somehow beats Anthony Joshua.
That's what I mean by the purists.
It's a disaster.
The purists, they don't want a legit boxer to lose to an influencer or an MMA guy or anybody.
Because it makes boxing look bad.
Exactly.
And I was relieved in a way when Anthony Joshua flattened him because it was like, okay, wait, these are two different levels, right?
For sure.
So
that's the thing. AJ knows it.
Right.
When AJ knows, his biggest flaw, I would say, is his own mind. He's a very intelligent dude. Sometimes he overthinks things. Sometimes he's too much in his head.
Yeah.
And that's when he gets into trouble in the ring. But when he's confident, when he's fighting within his style, which is to be an aggressive boxer puncher, he's absolutely devastating.
A basic but aggressive boxer puncher.
When Joshua fought Ngannou, he's like, you're not on my level.
Right.
You just don't have the experience. So he had 100% confidence, let his hands go, brutal things happen.
There's more pressure
But he's going to think the same way against Jake.
There's more pressure.
Matter of fact, he probably has more respect for Ngannou than Jake. Ngannou's a physical
but this makes more pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, he cannot look bad against Jake.
What do you want to say? Because then I want to get to
so pressure. I think all the pressure on AJ, but it could be some pressure for Jake too, though. Because if Jake loses this fight in the fashion that we think it's going to happen, will we ever see another Jake Paul fight?
Not against a heavyweight who can fight.
No. But I'm saying you can't go up here and now we about to go back to what 55 or 5'5", 135-pound Tank Davis?
No.
You know what I'm saying? 147.
It'll make it look worse.
Where does he go from here?
Well, here's the thing about Jake Paul, guys, and you said it about him, the promoter. Jake Paul is a great promoter.
Yes, he
has figured out a way to continually make compelling fights that I don't care what you say going in. This is a farce. This is a joke. You're curious and you want to watch it.
Right.
I'm going to watch it.
He figures out a way to do that. He's a very savvy promoter. Anthony Joshua just tweeted, shout out at DAZN Boxing for letting me take this opportunity. I will be back on their platform in 2026. Joshua Fury?
I want Joshua Fury, if anything.
You don't want that.
Yes, I do.
You know the outcome of that.
I don't know the outcome of that. I'm going Anthony Joshua.
You know the outcome of that.
It's a huge fight.
Anthony Joshua slept on a certain way.
I'm going on Anthony Joshua.
How's it a huge fight, though?
It's a huge fight in the UK.
How is it a huge fight?
Not for me.
Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury?
I know the results. I know the results, though.
Everybody's wanted this fight for a minute.
Yeah.
Are you going to watch that fight?
I'm a Tyson Fury
If
fan.
you weren't on this show, would you watch that fight?
I love Tyson Fury.
First of all,
hey, I love Tyson Fury. He's one of my favorite.
You're going to play with him.
Promoters, the way he talks, the way he walks, I love it all. But I don't know. I just
Tyson Fury is going to play around.
I give the edge to Anthony Joshua in that fight.
Why is that?
I just think that he always had a confidence he could beat Tyson Fury. I don't think Tyson Fury believes he could beat Anthony Joshua. I don't know why. That's just what I see.
You're a boxer, right?
Yeah. It's all about belief. If you believe it, it's different.
Give me some of AJ's biggest wins.
Oh, here we go.
That you liked.
Vitaly Klitschko. I mean,
it doesn't matter. He was a great.
It was 40. He was like 40.
It was Vladimir, and it was on a night where Vladimir was still a great fighter. I don't care what you say. He was a great fighter on that night.
Bro,
he was a great fighter.
Dropped him, got back up.
By the way, when Tyson Fury beat that Vladimir Klitschko, it was a stinking fight. Like he outboxed him, but he had to be very careful. It was not as good a fight as Anthony Joshua.
I don't even ever talk about that fight. He won that. There's nothing to talk about. He won that fight. It wasn't that exciting.
I like Tyson Fury too, but you're watching Fury and Joshua, of course. Coming up, Mike Coppinger joins the show from England. The name rings a bell. Coppinger.
Copp.
That's next on Inside the Ring.
The Locker Room. The new home of DAZN's boxing content. All your big hitters, all in one place.
I am not going to stop until I am pulled off of this guy. Daniel, don't disrespect you are. Daniel, don't disrespect you.
More exclusive content than ever before.
Look at that blood. You remember what's coming.
Welcome to Inside the Ring, boxing's official show of record. I'm your host, Max Keller.
The Locker Room. Only on DAZN, the global home of boxing.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. I'm Max Kellerman, joined now by our international spy, Mike Coppinger, codename .007, licensed to gossip. Mike, you broke the AJ Jake Paul story. How did this fight get made?
Max, as we know, right, Jake Paul was supposed to have an exhibition with Gervonta Davis, and that was going to be on this past Friday in Miami. Gervonta Davis had some more allegations against him. They pulled the plug. And basically what I'm told is Netflix came in and said, look, Jake, we need a legitimate challenger for you now. Here are 3 names: Ryan Garcia, Terrence Crawford, Anthony Joshua. Ryan Garcia unavailable as he tries to close the deal with Mario Barrios. Terrence Crawford, I'm told, said no. So they were left with Anthony Joshua, and Jake Paul's going to make a ton of money, of course. And this is going to be a real heavyweight fight, 8-round fight, 10-ounce gloves, standard. So Jake Paul is biting off a lot here, and you have to give him credit, I think. We've been critical of the opposition in the past, and now he's going to the top level of the sport.
Well, it's not exactly the top level. However, that does not change the fact that Anthony Joshua is a borderline Hall of Famer who is no longer in his prime, but is only, by today's standards, 36 years old is not what it used to be. Yes, he's been knocked out some, but he's also, in recent years, scored some pretty good wins, right? Like, this is the fact that Jake Paul, who is really, I would describe him as a big punching 8-round cruiserweight, right? The fact that he goes from just being a YouTuber to that, to now even going after Anthony Joshua or accepting that fight, he does deserve credit for that. This is not a guy who he has some enormous age advantage or size advantage. He's giving up size. Good for him. Because even to get in the ring with an Anthony Joshua, considering the kind of size of Jake Paul's business and the risk he takes to that, if he gets, annihilated quickly or hurt badly in the fight, he's taking a big risk, and he deserves credit for it, I think, Mike. Okay, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. I suppose we have to put Benn's name first now, right? It's no longer Eubank Benn. At this point, at least this fight should be referred to as Benn Eubank. Benn won. You were there. Just tell us what it was like.
Well, first off, Max, I'm still in London, and it was quite cold. I was freezing at the stadium. I had a parka on, but the atmosphere was great. A lot of celebrities there. Jason Statham, Rod Stewart, Pierce Brosnan. So just like in April at Tottenham, really big fight feel. And only in England, really, right, can you have guys that are maybe on the B level be those kind of attractions. So, well done to the English fans as usual. And I thought that was an amazing performance from Conor Benn. Very measured, very patient approach. Even in rounds 1, when he hurt Eubank, I thought, with a big right hand, he didn't get carried away. Just for a second he did, and then he kind of reset. So I think now, with the kind of attraction that Conor Benn is, you have to think he's a major player in boxing, especially at 147 pounds, where we have some big names like our own contributor, Ryan Garcia.
Agreed. And the thought going into the first fight is people talked about the dehydration after the fact that Eubank had to get down, right? He couldn't rehydrate past a certain point. It was hard for him to make the weight. But it's a little bit revisionist history. It's not that it's not a legitimate point, but heading into the fight, it was like, well, Eubank has a size advantage, a natural size advantage. Now, in retrospect, people are talking about, well, he had to dry out. And Mike, he did look dried out. His reflexes didn't look great. He looked drained. And yet you feel, at least I feel, even saying that out loud, takes something away from Conor Benn, who, as you said, was very impressive. Has Conor Benn addressed that at all? Has it been brought up to him? And has he addressed this idea that he was fighting something less than a primetime Eubank?
Max, I don't believe Conor feels that way, and I don't blame him. Like you said, it is a bit revisionist to do that now. Although we did say on this show last week, right, that we thought it might be a little tougher to make the weight this time around, 7 months older, cold weather. But I think the other thing that we're not talking about is that Chris Eubank is 35 years old. He's been knocked out a couple of times before, and he did take a lot of damage from Conor Benn in April. So I think there's definitely merit to saying that Conor Benn probably softened him up himself. And the other thing I want to look at is, unlike Eubank, Conor Benn was a guy who was thought of as a rising star just a couple of years ago, right? He was scoring big knockouts. Chris Algieri, explosive puncher. He had 2 kind of stay busy fights at 154 pounds after the doping incident. Didn't look his best, but he looked pretty damn good on Saturday, and there's no reason to think maybe now that Conor Benn, with all this confidence, doesn't recapture some of the potential that we thought he had in the first place.
At the very least, as you mentioned, he's in line for a big fight. He is a big name. You see he can do big business. And he overachieved, it seemed, in the first fight in a modern classic in terms of the atmosphere and the action and the drama and the competitiveness of the fight. And the second fight was not what the first fight was, but it was a big win, a dominant win for Conor Benn. I thought the scorecards were not surprising, but a little closer than I thought they'd be. And the closest any judge had it was 6 points for Conor Benn. Meantime, Joseph Parker, Mike, recently tested positive for cocaine. Heading into his fight with Wardley, or after the fact, he was caught with cocaine in his system. And I want to know what you know about this, because this really concerns me for several reasons. One, if he was actually coked up when he fought, that could actually be considered a performance enhancer and dangerous, right? At least over the short run. You could also say, well, no, actually it hurts the fighter. But over the short run, he may be more energetic. He may be less sensitive to pain, these kind of things, right? So that's not good for obvious reasons. But that's really an aside. I don't assume that someone would do that for a competitive advantage. However, because cocaine is not like cannabis, right? It's not going to stay in your system for a month at a time. What this indicates, if the test is correct, is that he was using cocaine within days of the fight. And what that suggests is that the man has a problem, right? So that's also cause for concern. Either way, it's bad news. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Max, obviously very surprising news that came out just a couple of days ago. And it was a VADA test, as we all talk about in the show, right? VADA is the preeminent testing agency in boxing and probably in sports. And they found cocaine metabolites in his A sample. He will have a chance to have his B sample tested. But as we know, it's very rare that the B sample comes back any different than the A sample. It's really the same sample that they just split in half to guard against contamination or false positive. So if the B sample is indeed positive as well, Joseph Parker now facing a 2-year ban from United Kingdom anti-doping. It's serious, right? He's an older fighter, relatively speaking. And if he had won this fight against Wardley, he would have been looking at that win being overturned to a no contest. And like you said, marijuana, right? Fat soluble, stored in the fat. Cocaine, water soluble. And with casual use, it's usually in your system 4 days maximum. So we're going to wait and see what happens here, but it is not good news.
Not good news. Even if he thought of it at the time as self-medicating or whatever it is, it indicates a real problem. And then, of course, with fighters also, you think, how many fighters actually retire with something? Who don't retire broke, right? Or have to keep fighting because they haven't kept what they've earned. And a cocaine habit can easily go through the kind of money that Joseph Parker has made in his career. So on top of everything else, you also worry about the guy who's a very likable guy who is, really a lot of boxing people have a lot of nice things to say about Joseph Parker. I know you've interacted with him, as have I, and it's impossible I found not to, he's an endearing kind of guy. So, you hope that on top of everything else, the personal health stuff and everything, I'm hoping that the B sample comes back negative and that there was contamination, because if not, I think this is bad news, Mike. Mike, thank you for joining me. Anything else you can tell me about your travels? You have any new gossip for us that we anything interesting at all, Mike?
I don't know, Max. Right now I'm gonna go to the airport, heading to Riyadh. I'm gonna be on the call for Ring 4 this Saturday. Mm-hmm. David Benavidez, Anthony Yarde in the main event, and I'll be scoring the 4 fights onto the DAZN broadcast. So I'm just glad that you're going to be treated to some really quality scoring when you're watching the fights at home, Max.
See, I'm glad I asked the question. That was interesting. I would say Mike Coppinger knows how to score a fight. I don't know who that guy was who scored the Zepeda fight, the Shakur Stevenson Zepeda fight. I don't know who that guy was, because the Mike Coppinger I know knows how to score a fight. All right, Mike, thank you for being here, and boy, Dougie Fischer doing just a great job, I got to tell you. Unbelievable. So, but no, good. I'm glad that you're abroad and doing what you're doing. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Max. See you soon.
Maybe. That might be. Let's see how Dougie does the rest of the show. All right. David Benavidez joins the show to talk about his fight with Anthony Yarde this weekend on that great Ring 4 card. That's next on Inside the Ring.
Live only on DAZN, November 22nd, the Ring 4. 4 world title fights in 4 different divisions. David Benavidez, the undefeated Mexican monster, defends against London's own Anthony Yarde. Devin Haney moves up to challenge Brian Norman Jr. Bam Rodriguez looks to unify against Fernando Martinez. It's the night of the champions. The Ring 4, November 22nd. Watch only on DAZN.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. Max Kellerman, Dougie Fischer, Shady McCoy, Ryan Garcia. We are joined now by the number 9 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, as ranked by Ring Magazine, the main man in the main event in the super stacked Ring 4 card in Riyadh this Saturday, David Benavidez. Welcome back to the show, David.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing?
A monster. Good.
We're good.
Good, man.
And you look like you're getting ready for that fight, man. All business. You said you're still waiting. You feel like you're still waiting for the big fight while the older champions heal up, namely Bivol and Beterbiev. How have you prepared yourself so that Yarde, who's not Bivol or Beterbiev, but is a real fighter, doesn't become a trap fight for you?
You know, I prepared for this fight harder than I prepared for any other fight. You know, since the Caleb Plant fight, since I got that fight with Caleb Plant, I knew every fight was going to be harder and harder. So I've combined that with hard work and dedication. You know, every camp I have is the hardest camp I've since the last one. So I've been working extremely hard. I have 4.5 months for this fight training. And I'm ready to go in there to showcase my skills and my talents to the world.
Yeah, man. How are you adjusting to the time difference? You know, I know you're in Saudi Arabia right now. For me, that's one of the hardest things to deal with. You know, you got to go to different places, get acclimated. How are you feeling right now dealing with that?
Yeah, I feel good. I've been out here for about a month. I came to Dubai first. You know, we spent 3 weeks in Dubai, and then we spent the last 2 weeks here in Riyadh. But just basically be turning into being more nocturnal. You know, waking up at 2, 3 p.m. and then staying up until like 5 a.m. You know, since I know the fight is going to be like at 3 or 4 a.m. So I just had to change my whole sleeping schedule around. But I feel really good now.
Fire. You know, David, it's a couple of fighters that we just look at like the pound-for-pound kings, and you would be one of them. People would vote to say, hey, you were one of them guys. But it's a guy like Terrence Crawford, who we see is probably the pound-for-pound king now. He had to go get that fight. And Canelo didn't give you that fight. I know you got Yarde, and I know you're focused at the task at hand, but what's going to be that fight to bring you to that elite level where, like, okay, we knew he was this guy, now we get the fight, now he is that pound-for-pound king, like we all think?
The next fights with Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, only because those are the hardest fights in the weight division. And then these are the types of fights that great fighters like to go against because it brings the best out of themselves. I think, you know, Ryan Garcia knows exactly how that feels. You need that opponent, the really good opponent, to really bring the best out of you. So, you know, I feel like I still haven't had my signature win, but I know when I get Beterbiev or Bivol or even Surdo Ramirez or any of those, you know, those other champions in there with me, the best of David Benavidez will come out.
David, how does it feel being on a card, being the headliner of a card where the undercard has incredible championship matchups, like Norman versus Haney, Bam Rodriguez against Puma Martinez? These are fights that everybody's talking about. We can't wait to see. But you're the man on top. You're the headliner. How does that feel? And what does that say about your career?
Yeah, I feel really good, man. I'm really excited. You know, I'm really happy to be headlining a card filled with champions. This was kind of what I had in my sights when I took the fight, when I fought on the same card with Gervonta Davis. You know, I took the back seat. I took the co-main event, even though I knew I was a main event fighter. I said, you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice. I'm gonna take the co-main event, and hopefully in the future I'll get to headline a card filled with champions. And this is exactly what happened for this fight, and I'm really excited. You know, I know there's gonna be a lot of talent on the card, November 22nd. But I'm definitely going to go out there and I'm going to steal the show on November 22nd.
Meantime, your opponent, Anthony Yarde, was quoted recently saying that he's going to, quote, put you to sleep this upcoming Saturday. Do you care to respond to that?
Yeah, well, let's see what he could do. Everybody says they could do this, they could do that, but once again, the ring with me is a whole different story. You know, I have one of the best IQs in boxing. We could say that Anthony Yarde had great performances against Artur Beterbiev and Kovalev, but he got stopped in both those fights. You know, I think what I've showed already, I've been champion since I was 20 years old, so I'm on the same caliber of those guys. If not, I say I'm even better than those guys. So if he says he's gonna put me to sleep, he better put his money where his mouth is.
So speaking of that, David, you've only been 2 fights at light heavy, but we're used to seeing you stopping guys. Even good fighters, you stop them, and you haven't stopped anyone at light heavy yet. Is this a fight where that starts? And why is that? Have you noticed that the light heavies take your shots better? Were you getting your feet wet in the weight class? Is it the actual opponents you fought? Like Morrell's a really good fighter. Why have you not stopped anyone yet? And are you stopping Yarde?
Yeah, it's a little bit of combination of both. Getting my feet wet and the fighters they were good too. But also, when I was at 168, I got used to walking people down, and I got used to being the bigger man at that weight class. Now what I did is I went back to the drawing board. I'm going back to the basics, using my jab, keeping my distance, using the ring a little bit more, setting the punches up a little bit better, and throwing my combinations more. Every time when I was in the fight with Usyk and David Morrell, I was hurting those guys a lot in the whole fight. So it's not that I don't have power. It's just that not that my power didn't come up. It's just that I kind of had to fix a few things. I have to follow my game plan a little bit better. But I definitely do see myself hurting Anthony Yarde, in the middle rounds, and I do see a lot of opportunities in me taking him out. So, like I said first, I'm gonna follow my game plan, but I do see myself stopping Anthony Yarde.
So when you're saying a little bit getting your feet wet, and you did hurt Wojcik, which you did, and Morrell, which you did, and Morrell, they're both good fighters. Morrell especially seems to be in or entering his prime. Are you suggesting that is going to change, like when you hurt fighters going forward at light heavy, you will finish them? Or are you saying, and it's kind of a permanent thing where because these guys are bigger, you have to modify your style so you may not always stop them when you hurt them?
No, I'm saying that now that I modified my style, I'm definitely, you have to follow a game plan. There's a recipe for every knockout. So, I'm not gonna be too hard on myself if I don't get the knockout. But what I will do is I will dominate the fight, whatever fight I'm in. But I'm the Mexican monster. I'm always looking for the knockout, and I'm always looking for the stoppage. So, there's something sweet about getting a knockout and getting a stoppage. So, that's definitely what I'm after in every fight.
David, you're one of my favorite fighters to watch, and I'm looking forward to your fight probably the most out of this whole card. But, you're on
appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. You're on a card where there's so many great fights. Which fight are you looking forward to the most, I guess? Which one do you like the most?
To be honest with you, all the fights are fire, man. I'm a fan of everybody on the card. I will say I'm actually looking forward to Abdullah Mason's fight because he's a raw and exceptional talent. He's really good. I've enjoyed his knockouts from when he was on Top Rank. But also Bam Bam Rodriguez. The fight with Devin Haney is going to be good versus Brian Norman. So I'm just excited for the whole card. I'm definitely going to be, I'm going to be a fan in the back room enjoying all the fights until it's my turn to go up.
I'll be there.
Hey, David, last thing before I get out of here, man. Will we ever get a chance to see that, you and Canelo? Because for so long, I've wanted that. I said, you know what? Okay, Canelo's not ready to fight him yet. Okay, cool, we'll wait. Okay, Canelo's not ready to fight him yet. Okay, but I know eventually he's going to fight 2 great Mexicans, and it didn't happen. Will we ever see that, or that's just my dreams should just be shattered?
I think you guys are asking the wrong guy. I've been told you guys already like 30 times. Yeah, I want to fight him. You guys, next time you guys get Canelo on, make sure to ask him. Ask him, you want to fight with David Benavidez? When is that going to happen? I'm ready for whenever. I feel like Canelo, he didn't want to take the fight for some reason. Now the ball's in my court. You know what I mean? The ball's in my hands. I got the belt at 175. Canelo has no belts. I doubt he's going to go back to 168 and fight anybody. So, in my opinion, why doesn't he come up to 175, fight Callum Smith again, fight for their interim title, and then the winner I could fight the winner. He does have 3 fights left on his contract, so he also said he's not going to stop fighting. So, in my opinion, I'm ready for whenever. You know what I mean? But I'm looking past that though. I don't really got my sights on Canelo. I got my sights on Artur Beterbiev, Dimitri Bivol, and Surdo Ramirez. Okay, and once those fights done,
once those fights are done, what?
Then we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't get you that. I've been telling you I've been wanting to fight Canelo for years and years. So if he don't want to fight me, that's on him.
Damn, Shady. Why are you asking you asked the wrong guy?
I'm saying, Shady. I hear all them guys he's saying, but you telling me if Canelo say, you know what? Because they paying money now. Ain't no more excuses. If they say Canelo, we're gonna fight Benavidez, will you do it?
Benavidez, but David does not control whether or not that fight happens, right? Like look, you've been unable to land, as you said, the fight with either Bivol or Beterbiev so far. You haven't been at light heavyweight a long time, but you haven't gotten that at light heavy. And before that, Canelo Alvarez has never ducked anyone in his career until you.
That's true.
But it is fair to say in public that he ducked you so far at super middle, right? Is there any part of you, David? Get.
To be honest, like I said, if he doesn't take the fight with me now, I'm the one that comes out better on this because I'm 28 years old. If once I get the fight with these three guys, I'm going to have more experience. It's going to be more dangerous for Canelo. If I was going to beat him back then, imagine after I beat Dimitri Bivol, Arthur Beterbiev, imagine he's not going to be able to touch me. Man, at the end of the day, man, I'm gonna be ready for whenever. I'm ready for whenever they say let's get it. I'm ready for whenever.
Are you proud of being this generation's boogeyman so far? Like Bivol, I can't believe you call out Bivol and Beterbiev. Like you got to be a maniac to call those two guys out. Those are maximum risk. And considering you're going to become the money guy, considering you're Mexican American, your style, etc., your personality, you're a star. So you're going to make a lot of money without fighting those guys, but you're calling them out because that's the kind of fighter you are. Right. I think about boogeymen in other generations like Mike McCallum. Mike McCallum never got the big fights, but then he didn't have the kind of following, the built-in fan base that would create financial incentive to make those big fights. You have that fan base that can create that incentive for people, and you're looking for those fights. So I'm assuming eventually those happen. In the meantime, do you have any pride about the fact that you are the guy that it seems no one wants to fight?
To be honest with you, I don't think of stuff like that. At the end of the day, I just think about I'm trying to make the biggest and best fights happen. I've been professional for 13 years. I paid my dues. I've been number one on WBC, WBA, WBO, at 168, 175. I've been world champion, So what excites me is going against these big fighters that, sometimes the victory, it doesn't look 100%. It doesn't look certain. Not everything is guaranteed, but this is what makes boxing exciting. If I knew everything was going to be guaranteed, it wouldn't. The come up wouldn't be as fun. The grind and the struggle wouldn't be as fun. So I just want the best fights. I want to challenge myself, and I want to show to myself, and I want to show the world that I really am the best in the world.
Dougie, how good is it to have a guy like this?
Yeah, he has the right idea. He has the right mentality. Yeah. This is what we want from our young fighters. This is what we want from our champions.
And from the money guys, the guys who have the fan base to make something happen.
For a while, Canelo was that guy. Yep. He's no longer that guy. The Canelo era is over. If we're looking for a Mexican attraction in the United States, it's David Benavidez. And David, I just want to pump up Ring Magazine and the October issue where you grace our cover. This is the first time where David Benavidez has been the cover star on Ring Magazine. I don't think it'll be the last time.
Do you see what it's entitled, guys? Unavoidable.
Right.
Let's go.
That means we're entering the David Benavidez era.
And it means he's been avoided so far. Exactly. But the David Benavidez era is unavoidable.
Yeah, David, I do want to get your thoughts on this because I know Max and I, our generation, we grew up getting all our information from newspapers and magazines held a higher place in society. But for a young fighter now, does it still mean something to be on the cover of a boxing magazine like Ring Magazine, the oldest American magazine out there?
I mean, for my age, I'm not that young. I remember when I was like 7, 8, all the way up to like 15, I used to read all the Ring magazines. So I always told myself I was going to be on there one day. So, it means a lot to me. It means the world to me. And I kind of use that like as a bookmark in my life to actually see what I've accomplished and say, you know what, okay, I'm living out my dreams. And now it's time to go even harder. I feel like the more success you get, the harder you have to work. And now that I've got on the Ring Magazine, I'm number 9 on the pound for pound list.
Yes,
it's time to work even harder. But I'm really excited. I'm really motivated, and I'm just reaching for the stars now.
You have the right mentality. If you get past Yarde, and I think you will, we all do, targeting Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol, those guys are rated higher than you in the Ring's pound for pound. So if you fight both those guys and you beat both those guys,
That's big.
You're like top three, right?
That's the crazy thing about
and that's how you get on the cover and it's fighter of the year.
Usually guys, David, like you, who would call other guys out, are being avoided, don't have other avenues to make a lot of money, and really feel that they're going to beat the guys they're calling out. I'm not sure you beat Bivol and Benavidez. Those are great fights. When we're saying unavoidable, and you're saying the Benavidez era is now, you got to win those fights.
Absolutely.
That's far from guaranteed. That's why I think guys like us are so happy about your mentality about the sport. Does that come from you as a proud fighter or also as a boxing fan? Because you're talking like a boxing fan.
Yeah, definitely. It's also just being a boxing fan, and then just also being in my mind, I have the Warriors mentality. And there's this quote from Oleksandr the Great that I like. He says, "If you conquer your fear, you will conquer death." And I conquer my fear. That's why I'm not scared of no man. That's why I know I have 100%. I have faith in my heart that I beat all these fighters. With the hard work, with the right training camp, there's nobody in front of me that could beat me.
I like that. He does quotes.
You conquer death. You know why you conquer death if you conquer fear? Because you can become a legend.
No, I like that.
Lives.
I got some quotes from Martin Luther King and my guy over there, my brothers. Hey, real quick, the hairline looks sharp with his drink. I like it. I do want to ask you this because I'm not a boxer, right? And I've been loving boxing since I've been a kid. How do you feel, or what's your take on the Jake Paul versus AJ? This is your thoughts.
To be honest with you, that's a hard fight for Jake Paul. That's a really hard fight for Jake Paul. But, I appreciate him taking this leap and accepting this fight. You know what I mean? If I was him, if I was his team, I'd advise him to take another fight with somebody else because Anthony Joshua, he's a hitter. And not only that, he's multiple-time world champion. He's a gold medalist. That's probably the hardest fight he could have taken, honestly. Yeah. You've seen what it did to Ngannou. You know what I mean? So, but, big ups to Jake Paul. He really wants to make a statement for himself, and, he really wants to take these big chances, so you got to respect that.
Would you ever fight Jake Paul, David?
Yeah, definitely. Like I just told you, I'm not scared of nobody.
That's an honest answer right there. That's honest.
I'm going to that fight. Let me take everything to see that fight.
Yeah, let me go ahead and guess that Jake Paul's not going to want to fight David Benavidez.
I think he already said that before. He's like, that's the one guy I won't fight.
Yeah, you know better, right?
Keeping it real there. David, always a pleasure to talk to you. Even better to watch you fight. Can't wait for Saturday.
Thank you, guys. You guys take care.
Best of luck, man.
And guys, don't forget, David Benavidez headlines the Ring 4 card this Saturday in Riyadh on DAZN pay-per-view. This is top to bottom the best card of the year. I think we all agree on that, right?
Yes, we do.
I can't remember the last time a card was this stacked. That's the truth. Coming up, Ryan Garcia gives us his thoughts on who's next for him. Next on Inside the Ring.
Hey, listen up. Let's have it. We know you've always got your eye on the prize, the championship belt. And why wouldn't you? You're a finely tuned, well-oiled boxing watching machine, capable of consuming over 185 fights on DAZN every year.
We've gone big, we've gone global.
Churning through combinations, comebacks, and non-stop knockouts. With big fights every week, you're the best in the world. So go on, get that belt, champ. DAZN, undisputed.
Welcome back to Inside the Ring. Max, Ryan, Shady, Doug Fischer. As we teased earlier in the show, Ryan, over the past several weeks, your name has been connected with Mario Barrios as a possible opponent. How close is that fight to actually happening?
I don't want to say too much, but, we've been talking for months, and we are closing in on the deal. But that's as far as I'm going to say it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've been working on this.
Somebody you've targeted?
Oh yeah.
Somebody you've wanted to fight for years?
Not for years, just kind of seen the landscape of the 147-pound division. I just feel like this is a perfect fight for me after coming off my last fight, and I think that somebody that I see, all right, let's do it. I mean, he has a title, he's a world champion, and now I have an opportunity to become a world champion, WBC.
Seeing something here? You take his bout at 147. Devin Haney gets about at 140. Oh, we about to make a rematch here on the ring?
Huge rematch.
Is that the game plan, Ryan Garcia?
I mean, if the stars align, right?
You a star now, dog.
Come on now.
Meantime, Barrios, in one way, we've discussed this on the show, but let's do it again. in one way, I imagine you look at the Pacquiao fight and you go, oh man, this is easy
Got
work.
him.
On the other hand, I imagine, a lot of pressure, like similar to like AJ fighting Jake Paul in the sense that, not to disrespect Barrios, but Manny Pacquiao's 150 years old. and just I thought he beat him, but it was a draw.
Yeah.
You, like, that puts enormous pressure on you, I imagine, right? Like, you got to beat this guy.
I think the pressure was on Barrios to look super good against Pacquiao, and I think that caught him up a little bit. With me, it's another young guy, so he might come at this fight a whole different way. You just gotta see. But in the ring, I think my skills and everything is just gonna play a part. Be too much for Barrios.
You show up to work Monday morning and you lose to Barrios. You know you're never going to hear about the end of it on this show.
That would.
You will
be
never
good.
hear the end of it on this show. You show up losing.
I'm
to
walking
Barrios.
in with just disguise and everything. You won't even know it's me.
And by the way, it's actually not. I know it sounds disrespectful to Barrios. It's really a commentary on your level of talent. Right. You have extraordinary talent, and he has ordinary talent, right? But he's done a lot.
But
with it.
He has a great job.
He does. He's done a lot
not
with it.
lose. His last two bouts have been draws, right? There was Pacquiao, and then there was the fight on the undercard of Paul Tyson. Yeah, Ramos.
Yeah. That's right.
It was bloody. It was actually a really good fight.
That was a war, right?
But he finds a way not to, if he doesn't win, he finds a way not to lose, at least in recent years.
And in your last fight, you found a way not to win.
Yeah,
so you gotta
I found a way not to win. That was hilarious.
That's right.
How do you assess him as a fighter, though? Like, what are his strengths?
He's just a good technical fighter that, like Max said, is like pretty average in speed and power. But his jab and his distance kind of keeps him in the fight most of the time. But he does get hit a lot, which I've noticed. But he does have that technical ability where he just keeps it straight, Nothing too crazy, but it's always consistent. The jab's there, Even when he's getting hit, he still tries to keep everything tight. So, he's just a good overall average fighter.
In your opinion, does he have heart?
I think he does. I think he does. I mean, you've seen that when all his fights, he comes out bruised up and he's still there. He's still there. So it's not like he's some pushover that's going to get caught with one shot and maybe he could possibly get that done. But
before we move on, is it fair of me to hold you to the standards of a fighter with extraordinary ability? Do you accept that, or it's like, hold on, time out? Why put me and Barrios on two different standards?
I would say for my whole life, my talent has always been like above most people. And so I don't think that's a bad assessment. I think that when my mentality and my work ethic is there's not a lot of people that I would be worried about because I could beat anybody on any given night with the skills and talent I have. And you put the dedication there, it's going to be hard to win.
Yeah, you're respecting your opponent. I get that, though. But we did see him fight. My favorite fighter of all time is Ali and his Pacquiao. We did see that. And Pacquiao's not the same. He's way older. Watching that fight, you can't tell me you ain't looking at your shots like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. Let's keep it real.
Pacquiao's hook doesn't land like it used to.
Come on, man.
And his hook does. Yeah.
You hit him with some of that stuff.
Hey, man, I'm not saying that's what I seen. I'm just saying, look it.
But I'm saying,
there's an opportunity.
But watching that fight was happier to saw on that line. Like, oh, is that Pacquiao?
No. No matter what, like I always thought I could beat Barrios, even before that. It's not like I started licking my chops then. He got knocked out by Tank Davis. Obviously, I did too. But I just see like there's holes in his game that I could take advantage of. I've always felt that way.
Especially when you can punch holes in guys. It's time to get into the best bets, guys, for the Ring 4 this Saturday night on DAZN pay-per-view. Ryan, this card, we keep saying it's stacked, but we're not selling it to you. We're telling you the truth. What's your best bet from that night?
Well, easy for me. I'm going to go with Devin Haney, decision. I know Devin Haney's the underdog, which is, he has been an underdog for a while now. So, for me, that's a good money line bet. Devin Haney decision, you can't say that's not a possibility.
So you think the Ramirez fight was just him getting that out of his system after fighting you, and now that it's out of his system, he can outbox Norman?
I think he's gaining more confidence, after the Ramirez fight. Now he's in more training camps. He's in the gym even more now. So I think I could see his demeanor. He seemed more confident than he was before going to the Ramirez fight, and now this fight.
Doug, your pick. What's your best bet?
I'm going to go Abdullah Mason, but on points.
Okay.
Everybody looks at Abdullah Mason as that next guy, the next awesome American, talented, future champion, future unified champion, all that good stuff. I agree with all that. He hasn't. He's never failed to impress me. But most people think he's going to run right through this British guy, Sam Noakes. And I think Noakes is tough enough and skilled enough to go 12 rounds.
And when we're betting here, we're looking at odds, too. We're looking for value.
We're looking for value,
right?
We're looking for value. This is like plus 180 or plus 175.
So what's your value? I'm sure you look for value, Shady. Where do you find it?
I'm going with Devin Haney, right?
Okay.
A guy that put Devin Haney on the ground, right? Ryan Garcia, he's with us. Devin has a resume for a reason, right? And I always say this, when does resumes not matter? It matters. You talk about experience. He's going against Norman, who's not as experienced as Devin Haney. Devin Haney's a winner. I think Devin Haney, he might touch the ground, right? But I think he gets up and finishes the job.
I think everyone here agrees that Bill and Devin Haney are very impressive.
Yes, they are.
Right? You come from nowhere. You come from nothing, and you train your son to become champion of the world. You beat Vasily Lomachenko to do it. You know, like, he has done a lot in his career. He's a very good boxer. Man, Norman's a young, spry, undefeated, punching. This would be a huge win for Devin Haney. My pick, I got plus 145 odds. David Benavidez to win between rounds 7 and 12. I think
his first stoppage at light heavyweight.
I think so. I think Yarde has been stopped. I think Yarde shows up to fight. I think Benavidez is feeling the pressure to get back to stopping guys.
Yeah.
And I think in this style of fight, he should wear Yarde down and stop him. I like that value at plus 145 between 7 and 12. I don't think it's going to happen early because Yarde's a tough guy you can fight.
I'm trying to clean the bank out, though.
Plus 148. Oh, look at that.
I'm
I got
the bank
even a little
out.
slightly better odds than I thought. I thought it was 100. I thought it was 145, 148. Look at that. Make a few extra pennies.
Ryan, you like my bet or no?
I do like your bet.
Right? He might get knocked down, but he gonna finish the job.
crazy, so if that hits.
What was it, 2,500?
Yeah.
I'm clearing the bank out, man.
There you go.
$1,000, 25,000.
I'll tell you what. Okay, if it's the same Devin that showed up for the Ramirez fight, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, you're making the assumption that it will be a better Devin Haney than fought Ramirez?
100%.
If it's the same Devin Haney that fought Ramirez, if that's just Devin Haney now, who wins?
If it's the same one that fought Ramirez?
Yep.
It's tricky because that guy was running crazy. Can Norman cut the ring off crazy? I have no idea how he does with guys like that. You know, I've never seen him fight any fighter close to how Devin Haney fights. Yeah, Devin Haney.
Norman's at his best with somebody bringing the fight right to him.
Exactly. Now he might have to chase a guy. Like, does he know how to do that? We don't know that yet. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he could prove me wrong, you wrong.
Right. But Ramirez was not a big puncher. I mean, he was a solid, but not a big puncher at 140 pounds. Mm-hmm. Now you're talking about 147 pound, a better puncher who's younger. His best days apparently are ahead of him. He's hungry. He's undefeated.
Coming into his own. His confidence is super high.
Yeah. You guys are very confident about Devin Haney. More than I am in this fight.
Well, Norman's coming off a huge knockout, right? Knockout of the year, right? Or possibly the last 3 years. It was nasty knockout. But that doesn't mean that he's going to do that to a guy at the level of Devin Haney. Yeah, he got a great knockout, but you know, it's a much different
Sasaki,
game.
Devin Haney, polar opposites.
Two different things.
In terms of talent, but also in terms of styles.
But I get it. People see the left hook, but it's not like that's not even a left hook I throw. He like rode with the punch, kind of the jab, and then followed him coming back up. So that's a little different. I know. I look at everything. I just think that Devin Haney's the more experienced fighter. I think Norman's still a little green to me when I see him fight. But maybe he's not. Maybe he's nasty.
Maybe he takes that jump in this fight. The fact is, when Devin Haney's on his game, he's an A fighter.
Yes, he's an A fighter.
And we'll find out if Brian Norman can match that level, if that's what Haney brings. Guys, coming up, the inner workings of the ring rankings. We'll be right back with more Inside the Ring.
We bet.
Live only on DAZN, November 22nd, The Ring 4. 4 world title fights in 4 different divisions. David Benavidez, the undefeated Mexican monster, defends against London's own Anthony Yarde. Devin Haney moves up to challenge Brian Norman Jr. Bam Rodriguez looks to unify against Fernando Martinez. It's the night of the champions. The Ring 4, November 22nd. Watch only on DAZN.
got it before you, Shady. I got it.
Don't do this, Max.
You said,
don't
but I said Riddick ball.
You already got it freezing up in the studio. It's freezing in here. Come on, dog. I got
Freeze
that
you
right.
out. All right, welcome back to Inside the Ring. Max, Ryan, Shady, and editor-in-chief of Ring Magazine, Doug Fischer, the heavyweight champion of the world. Let's be very clear. Ask anyone anywhere in the world. Who's the heavyweight champion of the world, guys?
Oleksandr Usyk.
Usyk is the heavyweight champion of the world. But now there's going to be a new champion of a sanctioning body, which is not the same thing as being heavyweight champion of the world. One of the sanctioning bodies, who I have not referred to on the air for over 20 years now, probably close to 25 years, one of the sanctioning bodies is going to say that Fabio Wardley is champion. This is nothing against Fabio Wardley. He's the number 2 contender in the ring to Oleksandr Usyk, the heavyweight champion of the world. I don't recognize the alphabet soup sanctioning bodies. Think of it like this. If you follow American college football, there are lots of bowl games. And it's nice to win a bowl game, but there is one champion. The champion, the sanctioning body's power, their legitimacy, is co-opted by Ring Magazine. Because one of the ways that Ring Magazine fills a vacant championship is if you unify all the sanctioning bodies. That's what Oleksandr Usyk did. So now he's the champion, and you don't have to worry about what any of the sanctioning bodies do anymore. So, Doug, since we're on the topic of Ring Magazine, can you tell everyone how the champions are determined and how the rankings are determined, so people, because it's the policy of Ring Magazine that legitimizes the championship.
There's a ratings policy and there's a championship policy. And the ratings policy plays into the championship policy. The ratings are real simple. It's on merit. It's not if you hold a world title, a sanctioning body belt. It's about who you fight and your performance. So it's your accomplishments and the performance when you're in against equal or better competition. That's how you climb our rankings.
So we're looking at the Ring Magazine ranking policy. The Ring Magazine panel is comprised of 30 individuals from across 10 nations and 6 continents.
We're international.
Because the first thing is, do you know what you're talking about, and are you credible, or can it be corrupted?
Well, boxing is international, and guys like us, we try to keep up with everything, but there's really good fighters in Thailand who fight at like 115 pounds. We don't really know about them. We got a guy on the ratings panel from Thailand. He's in and around the boxing scene in Thailand, and he lets us know.
This is crazy, man.
2 members on the Ring ratings panel who are from Japan. Japan, obviously a hotbed in boxing. A lot of Brits. Got guys from England, Wales, Scotland.
And I see Ring Magazine championships are won and lost in the ring. So a sitting champion, the only way to lose your belt is if you lose it to another fighter, if you permanently exit the weight division, if you retire, or because it's
you're inactive for like 18 months.
So that's reasonable. You're saying, look, he hasn't fought in a year and a half.
Over a year. Yeah.
In a year and a half.
He has some injuries, though, I thought. He has some injuries.
We'll factor that in there.
Some injuries.
But if you don't have an excuse and you haven't fought in 18 months, then we can
Wait, let's be very clear. If there are legitimate excuses like injuries, you can make exceptions to that rule?
in there, absolutely.
Okay. And championship...
Same thing with the rankings as well. If you've been inactive for a year, this recently came up with a junior middleweight, the guy who has the IBF title, Bakram Murtazaliev.
He's nice, too.
He hasn't fought in a year since he knocked out Tim Tszyu.
Right.
And we were getting ready to drop him, but then we kind of put it out there to the panel, hey, can somebody reach out to his management? Can somebody reach out to his promoter, Kathy Duva?
Ducking him, though.
And she reminded us, no, he had an injury that kept him out of the ring, kept him out of training for a while, because I think he broke a hand beating up Kostya Tszyu. And then
Tim Tszyu. Him beating up Kostya Tszyu.
Yeah.
I'm old, man. I'm old.
Yeah, Tim got that whooping.
Kostya was my guy, by the way. Yeah. And I love Timmy. And that's why Bakram is a gun, because the way he knocked out Timmy. But that's also keeping people from fighting him. They're having a hard time getting him fights, and he had a purse bid. There was an IBF purse bid, and it was supposed to be between Murtazaliev and Erickson Lubin, and Lubin pulled out. at the last minute and fought.
So you guys are using your discretion and being reasonable. It's not this guy's fault. It's not like he's sitting on his hands for a year and a half.
Right.
If a guy is hurt and he legitimately can't fight, you'll take that into consideration.
So we did not drop him from the rankings, even though he'd been out of the ring for more than 12 months.
And the way you win the championship, if the championship is vacant, can you explain that?
It's so simple. It's the best versus the best. Number 1 versus number 2. It's automatic. If number 1 fights number 2, and there's a vacant belt in that division, it's automatically on the line. No discussion,
and occasionally one fights 3 if 2 is not available?
If 2 is not available, or if number 1 has been trying to make a fight with number 2, and number 2 is like, no, I don't want the smoke or whatever, but number 3 says, I'll fight you.
Occasionally.
Then we put it up, we'll put it to a vote. It's democratic. The panel votes on it, and if the panel votes yes, then the vacant belt's on the line.
He's taking Usyk's belt. Is that how it works?
What was that?
Wardley, is he getting a belt now?
No, he's getting a belt, sanctioning body belt.
This is the point.
Wardley, in our eyes, Fabio Wardley is a contender. The champ is the guy who holds the Ring Magazine title.
Yeah.
In my mind, Usyk can drop all the belts.
It doesn't matter.
He's still the champ.
The Ring is not going to drop their belt until Usyk either loses in the ring, sits on his hands for a year and a half, and says, no, I just didn't feel like fighting.
Right.
Or retires.
There you go.
Right? Or says, I'm going back down to cruiserweight. I'm not going to fight at heavyweight anymore. It's common sense.
Yeah.
And in this case, a sanctioning body, Shady, I want to be very clear so everyone understands. A sanctioning body that has already been unified in all the belts that Usyk has won. Usyk is the heavyweight champion. He's got all the belts. One of the sanctioning bodies, and I don't mention them by name because they don't matter. One of them says, we're now withdrawing recognition, and we're saying Fabio Wardley is the champion. But it is a mistake to say Fabio Wardley is a world champion.
Right.
He's the champion of a sanctioning body whose relevancy, whose legitimacy is irrelevant at this point because it has been co-opted by Ring Magazine's policy, which already took into account that someone had that belt and it got unified by Oleksandr Usyk.
Right. You know what the champ is.
Yeah, basically, to climb the Ring Magazine's rankings, you got to pick up all these belts.
Yeah.
On your way from number 10 to number 1, you're going to win 2 or 3 belts.
So,
if not all 4.
If not all 4, right.
Yeah, and like I said, once you have all 4, a new lineage begins. You're the man. Undisputed means nobody else can say they're the champion. So once you do that, you can drop those sanctioning body belts as long as you have the Ring Magazine title.
You're the champion.
Like my man Rocky right here. Once you got this belt,
you know Rocky.
You're the champ.
This is the only championship belt that I have recognized in, I think it's 23 or 24 years now. I have not recognized another championship because of the policy Dougie laid out, not because I'm working at Inside the Ring now. This is
when you were on ESPN all the time.
And HBO.
And HBO, yes you did.
I've never, this has been, I got receipts, you can check my social media. Okay, one last reminder, Saturday in primetime, we've got a truly stacked card on DAZN pay-per-view with some of the biggest names in boxing. One final look at the fight card here. It is hard to say definitively which fight will end up being the best of the bunch, the most significant of the bunch. Guys, final thoughts on this card. Ryan.
Man, what a great card. I say the biggest fight for me is obviously going to be the Haney-Norman fight, obviously personal reasons. But another great card, what Turkey's doing is amazing for boxing. Look at these beautiful things we get to watch. And I'm excited, cannot wait. I will be there in Saudi Arabia. So
if Devin wins and you win your fight, as was mentioned earlier in the show, and you and Devin have a rematch at 147 pounds, that's got to be, Doug, is there a bigger fight in boxing than that? Is that one of the 3 biggest fights in boxing?
It's definitely between 2 U.S. fighters, between young American fighters under the age of 30.
That's the biggest fight. That's the biggest fight that could be made. So that's what you're obviously rooting for.
That's what we want. That's what we want.
Right.
Tupac says nothing better than revenge, other than so it's a big, big fight.
Yes.
All right. Anything else, guys? Were you looking forward to on this?
Oh, Bam versus Puma.
Oh, yeah.
Jesse Rodriguez versus Fernando Martinez. It might be the fight.
It's such an interesting
card. It might steal the show. It's under the radar because Martinez doesn't speak English, and Bam is just shy.
It's such an interesting card because that's probably the fight where if you factor in action and relevance, it's the best one. But Haney and Norman is so interesting because it also has such an effect on the sport going forward. And it tells you so much about both fighters, right? Also, it could wind up being a really good fight. Yarde and Benavidez, that's a fight where most people think Benavidez will win, but it promises that's like a guaranteed
fun while it lasts.
Guaranteed.
It's going to be a shootout for like 5 or 6 rounds.
And then you got Abdullah Mason, like one of the hottest prospects in boxing, really.
I think this
against Noakes, who's like that's a step-up fight for him.
No, he's a contender now.
Yeah,
he's a contender.
Yeah, contender. Yeah.
The Haney one is so special just because of like, do we know Norman or don't we? We think we know him, right? We think he hits hard, both hands with bricks. But we got to see it versus an elite fighter. And Devin Haney, like his last fight wasn't impressive, but Devin Haney's career has been impressive. That's why that's the best fight.
Well, guys, that does it for today's episode. For Ryan Garcia, Doug Fischer, and Shady McCoy. I'm Max Kellerman.
Ryan, boy, hey, dog, look.
That was.
Thank you for joining us. We're going to see you next week.
Was that quick?
And maybe Coppinger will be here, and maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah.